some more makofi. Guys, you see how the panelists have come prepared. I see the iPads here. I see the notebooks. Oh my God. Okay, karibuni sana. Let me start with the audience. First of all, when you hear digital commons, what comes in your mind? What comes in your mind when you hear digital commons? He's like, please don't come to me. What comes in your mind?
I'm not sure about that. From others.
But you are ready to learn. Thank you. What comes in your mind when you hear digital commons? Gender balance, what is same?
Well, digital commons are things that are available to anyone.
Oh.
They are shared and available to anyone.
Shared and available to anyone. So I think we need a common understanding on digital commons, and I will pose this question to no one but my panelists. This is going to be an open question to you all. Let me start with Honorable Wakili Msomi. Majide.
Because when you started with Honorable Wakili Msomi, I was wondering, because I also is Derek Wakili Msomi, so I was wondering. Hi, good afternoon. How was lunch? Very nice and a bit short or long? Yeah, so I think, Emmanuel, have asked me a very difficult question, and I have been asked this question this morning. So I'm Robert Majige, and I'm a fisherman. And from the fisherman community and fisherman perspective, maybe I can try to give an illustration from that. Assume or take it the digital common is like a community of fishermen. And if only few people can control water, can control at what time people are going to fish, can control at what size of fishing nets are supposed to be used, and they can also make rules on how things should be done, then this speaks on how it can go to the participation of those people coming together. And we can take the issue of digital common as try to think of things very adequate that we use always, things like water, things like oxygen. Like imagine if we are sitting in this room and someone else could be taking $1 or $2, could be taking Tanzanian shillings and saying like, okay, to breathe or to be in this room, you need to pay this or need to do that. Then it could have been hard for some of us even to participate. Then this comes with the word digital commons. Digital commons try to bring the idea that the digital technology, the digitalization agenda, and anything that concerns with digital developments that are being made should be made to be common for all humanity, for all people, to make sure that every person can enjoy these rights. Whether it's ideal or not, this is something that we will dive deep into the discussion. Thanks.
I didn't see the fisherman part coming, but I think that has been really easy for each of us to understand the foundation. Over to you, Zibu.
Okay, thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Zbusi Sotube from Accountability Lab East and Southern Africa. We do work to promote good governance. I make governance work for the people by promoting responsible leaders, accountable institutions, and active citizens. So when we talk about the digital commons, it's based on the simple idea that the digital commons is a shared resource, in the same manner that the global seas are a shared resource, in the same manner that our access to the sun is a shared resource, and so forth. It's the idea that everyone needs to have a say in what's happening in the digital space. I think the example by Robert really brings it home.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the thinking. It's of course a problematic concept because there are key players in the digital space who are doing the innovation, the big tech companies and so forth. But the question then is, what's the role for the general citizenry in different spheres? What role do women have to play in the digital space? How accessible is it to people with disabilities and so forth? Is the idea that the digital space is a resource that we all share and that we need to have a say in how it's managed.
Thank you so much. Derek?
Hello, my name is Derek Absalom Okieja, and I'm an advocate of the High Court. Particularly, I have a bit of experience in the climate policy and what we call green investment. From the perspective of digital economy, I could say it the role of what you are doing every day. It's like in the morning you take a cup of water and you drink it. So you have to digitalize each and everything. So in the industry of um, investment, climate policy, and many other things, what I think digital commons means or refer is that you digitalize what you think could be digitalized. For example, in 2023, we had a consultation. I've conducted the research in 2023 in 4 regions. So when I went back to the donor who funded the project, it was a UNICEF back in the day. So UNICEF told me that we cannot fund this project once again because it's obviously in the paperwork. We need something, you have to digitalize it. So I think, and I went to meet someone, and then we developed something which called, it's an system. It's a system which is collecting and messages, views, and opinion through mobile phones, like a text. So that was something I found that I need to digitalize something and I need to live on it, and then the community should have to adapt it. And then that is something of which it's like to humanize and to put it into nature itself. So you have to live it and you have to adapt it, something into the digital forms. That's what I can refer of digital commons.
Thank you so much. So now we are on the same page, right? Eh? Are we on the same page, or we need more clarification on what digital commons is? If we are on the same page, please wave. Some people are just... Okay, we are in the digital paradox as our connectivity grows. When the connectivity grows, we witness the restrictions also are doing the same. And in Africa, there are over 226 million young people between the age of 15 and 24. And yet, only in 2025, 52% of documented digital governance incidents in Tanzania were regressive. So the digital commons is meant to foster civic engagement, but it's increasingly fenced off by the fragmentation and overreach. I would love to hear from all of you. With a young people population of more than 200 million across the continent, what is the single most significant structure barrier preventing African young people from transitioning from mere consumers of digital ecosystem to active architects and governors of the digital commons? Let me start with Derek.
Thanks so much, Imani. As you have said, you stipulated the numbers clearly, but I'll go directly to the issue, which are the barriers for these young people who are digital architects to create and to have something which will have impact to the community. First of all is bureaucracy, which we have as a continent. So our continent, it seems to have a long bureaucracy systems which create hurdles to these young people when they create or they have to innovate digital forms of solutions. For example, I won't mention, but many of you will understand the structure, what I would like to say. There was someone who wanted to create solutions for sending money from abroad to African countries. And when he came here to establish that startup, he was facing a lot of challenges to establish his startup. And that was a solutions, like to have this, what we call seamless mobile money transactions from Western to African countries. And then the bureaucracies and the structure, the architect itself of the governance create hurdles and the challenges for him to to create the same. Then the guy wanted to, he left the country, went to establish that in any other country. Then as we speak, that platform or that startup now has a massive and has gained a massive funding, and they're creating millions of jobs worldwide as we speak. But that because of bureaucracies. And another thing is what we call the tax regulatory. And we have an identified, as a continent, we have an identified tax regulatory, and we have a shakeable systems which changes like every day. When you wake up in the morning, you find out there is some new regulations which says something else contradictory to someone else. And another thing is that we don't have a seamless agenda as a continent. Past few weeks, I was part of the invitee to the Kenya and Tanzania Business Forum. And when we went to the digital startups, digital money startups, the people from the central bank and the Celcom, they are complaining like they don't have East African, for example, I'll take up the ambit of East African region. We don't have a seamless mechanisms of doing even transactions. So like Kenyan, when a Kenyan want to do transaction with people from here in Dar es Salaam, they consider that transaction as international transactions. So which creates now this, and the taxes are different. You have to understand the issue of taxes are different. So you have to pay tax here in Tanzania, and you have to pay tax in Kenya. So this tax regulatory framework in terms of regions is creating these kinds of challenges. So I think as a continent or as a region, we have to come up with a seamless means to create affordable and accessible ways for these young people who are very, very innovative to come up with something very strong. We have a visionary young person here in Dar es Salaam. He created a machines. Until today, he is struggling to launch that startup. He created a machine to measure the gas. Like you put that machine underneath your gas, and then it has been structured with AI. So it tells you, like, Imani, next week the gas will be out, so you have to fill it. But I'm telling you, the bureaucracy is facing that guy. Until today, the startup has not been launched. So I think we need to have this kind of seamless means to resolve, like to see on how we can restructure from policy laws to implementations.
Thank you so much. Over to Majige. I've noted bureaucracy mostly. That's something that...
I think one thing that Advocate Delki has really touched on is on the issue of tax regime, bureaucracy, and seamless differences in the region. However, I would like to ask, like in the room, how many of us at least for a week use social media? By show of hands. How many of us for a week you use your social media? And while your hand is up, how many of us have ever consulted by maybe Meta when they want to change their WhatsApp policy or notify you, like you want to change WhatsApp policy? Are you able to contribute? And then how many of us have we ever been consulted, for instance, by government when they want to make law on startup, or they want to make a bill on something, like they consult us, get our views before they send those even to cabinet papers? How many of us have engaged in stakeholders consultation in Dodoma after they have presented in the parliament, and even when you go to them and tell them we want to do this 1, 2, 3, they won't even listen to you? So from this simple illustration and analogy, it shows that one of the challenges that will affect us is lack of meaningful consultation and engagement of the people. And this is what Jack Lanier wants in his book, like Who Can Save the Internet? He speaks that the internet has now been into the hands of the few. The few people have given power, and their power increasingly to be more and more, to keep more regulation, to keep more resources, to keep more oversight on the general or entire population. And as the population, we find that we don't have a space to breathe and to go outside of that. This is what also at TMC we underscored in one of our reports. I don't know how many of us have ever even gone to our tent there, in our table, in our booth there, and to have some placard of the reports. How many of you have even went to the and find some of the placard? Yeah, I saw some hands. Yeah, that's nice. So in one of our reports that was titled Power Dynamics, we underscored how there's issues of people who are in power or people who can make decisions are not considering or bringing these young people into table and to engage them from the startup. And I think with all these points that Delik has shared, we need to have, there's some kind of meaningful engagement and consultation of people, and to have the inclusive by design. This brings to some sense of accountability in what the government is doing, because you can't be accountable to come only just in the end, or in the implementation process, while you didn't have a meaningful inclusion during the consultation or design stage.
Thank you so much, Majige. I think that's very, very important. Just being on the table is not enough, but what's your share on that table, I think it's something that is really matters. Zibu, what do you have to say about that?
I think what I can add to what my colleagues have said is that part of the challenge is that...
Can you bring your microphone closer?
Some of the challenges that our countries on the African continent have failed to build institutions that promote or support innovation. So in our design of political and economic institutions, we've tended to develop what we can call closed or extractive institutions that don't allow people to innovate and that don't incentivize young people to develop innovations and push them into the market. This is based on research by the likes of Daron Asemuku and Robinson, who find that in states or countries where the institutions are closed off in terms of the economic and political institutions, generally there is no incentive for young people to create innovations that can then be pushed into the market and proliferate, so to speak. So because as a continent, we tend to be behind in terms of development, in terms of our economic development, this is something that has followed us historically. So from the first industrial revolution, which began in Britain should have been the 1700s, Britain was able to develop the steam engine and move forward with its economy because there were incentives for merchants there to develop new ideas and get support from the nation state to pursue that. We have lagged behind as Africa because we haven't developed those kind of inclusive economic and political institutions. So this is why you find that, as my colleagues have said, there is the bureaucracy that blocks people from developing things. There are challenges now that we're in a skewed global order where much of the control of the of technologies from the Western countries, particularly Europe and the US. But that's part of a historical challenge where we've lagged behind in developing some of these open institutions. And I think it links in some way to some of the discussions that we've been having throughout the day about the extent to which we control what people can do or not do, not only within the digital sphere, but in the economic institutions that we have.
Thank you so much. You have touched something very important, which has made me to connect on your remarks and contribution during the Build Boot Camp in South Africa, where you noted that the core challenge for civic tech is the gap in execution. My question to you is, how does Alessa's incubation model practically bridge this execution gap to ensure that young people innovations achieve measurable societal impact?
Yes, so when we say there is a gap in execution, we're beginning from the premise that the potential is surely there. In every society, young people are the most innovative. Young people are the most creative. They just need the right support. We need to create an environment where they are incentivized to develop those innovations and creations and then push them into the market. So that's where really the gap lies, in that we've failed to provide an environment where young people have that kind of support and the incentives to begin to implement what they can implement. So we need to understand that digital networks are not inherently good or inherently bad. So as we push towards what we call this idea of a digital commons where everyone has a say in what's happening, we need to be cognizant that to push things forward, we need to support young people who have the ideas, who have the innovations, so that they can come into the space and promote that inclusivity that we've been talking about all day, and ensure that all aspects of all people in society are benefiting from what's happening in the digital space. So definitely the creativity and innovation is there amongst young people. So what's needed is the support, an ecosystem of support in terms of the funding that people require, in terms of the capacity building, and in terms of the mentorship. So that's the kind of gap that the work of Alessa covers. Of course, our focus is on the accountability and governance side of things. But we do provide young people with support in terms of capacity building, mentorship, and where it's possible, some seed funding within the realms of the funding that we are able to get. So that's part of the work that we're doing through our program that we call the Digital Governance Incubator, which is currently supporting. It's only 12 people right now who are part of that program, who are being incubated from Zimbabwe, Malawi, and Tanzania. But through the multiplier effect, 12 people can positively impact so many communities in these different countries. So that's part of the work that we're doing.
That's impressive. Derek, you mentioned the taxation and bureaucracies, a big challenge when it comes to young people innovations. How do we bridge that gap, and how does this really affect young people innovators directly?
Thank you so much, Imani. I would like to ask a question to the audience. How many of us um, took the money on themselves and buy breakfast in the morning? How many do we buy breakfast using their own money? How many?
Are you asking for today?
For tomorrow. Yeah. And lunch? So this was a very practical question. I wanted to connect with what I want to say. If you want to be so strong in the morning, you have to get breakfast, right? And then you have to buy it by your own money. And this is where the issue of innovation and digital startups come in from the young people. Many of the Tanzania or East African digital startups are self-funded by the young people themselves. Or they can be through coalitions, maybe they are 5, but nobody have the guts. I'm talking this from the experience. Like the government cannot give you money, no development partners can give you money from nowhere. Like you have an idea, you have built your system, you have shown it, you have presented it, then once come and say, I'm gonna give you like 100 million US dollar. No. You have to find money for yourself first, and then those money you have to be taxed. I don't see if you can be able to grow and to reach somewhere for. We have so many taxes on the ways. My fellow advocates and others in the rooms could apprehend on the same. But my view, and basing on the research, on the some consultation I've made here and others area where I've been, the issue of tax should be seen on the different ways. We had a discussion back in the days with some other stakeholders in terms of taxes. What if these young people who are generating income through startups and digital ways should have at least a year of free taxes? You don't have to pay tax within 12 months of your startup. You register it for free, you run it, and everything's be seamless. We had a meeting once. I was with the people from taxes, those from, we call them like in the media, for the content creator. I think Imani, you were there. For the taxes, This content creator, they pay taxes. They pay taxes for what they are doing in online stuffs, and then these people, they expected to grow, and the tax is very massive. They expected to grow, which is not quite normal if you are a what do we say, amateur in the content creation game. So you have to have some times, like, for you to grow and to understand on how the market is going on. So my take is that the government stakeholders and playmaker in the room should have an opportunity to take it as a challenge and the solutions to the young people, that whenever young people goes whatever to Kosota to register it, his idea, there will be no annual fees, no taxes. When you go to TRA, they say, oh, Majige, this is your like fishing, tracking, whatever. Say yes, yes. Oh, you are starting, yes. Go for free, no tax, no tax. So Majige will have courage to have more people within the team, and then to attract more investors who want to invest in Majige's idea and to see on how potential he is or that system is, and the possibility way to elevate themselves for the community. This is a very, very practical, because there are some countries where whenever you start a business, you are given sometimes for free. For example, we are giving free tax to investors who are investing a lot of money from abroad here to Tanzania. Why not these young people? Someone is 16, he is doing STEM studies somewhere, and then he innovating something for the climate, for the business, for the communications, for the whatever. Then we have to consider that this is challenging. I mean, this is a solution to the community. It contributing to the business, but we need to give it sometimes for it to grow, because what he's doing is doing self-funded, the money from family, from parents, or from partnership within the youth-led organizations.
Thank you, Wakili Derek. In a nutshell, you are saying that tuthamini vya kwetu, right?
Exactly.
Thank you so much. And in order to have that strong ecosystem of innovators, I think you all agree with me that we need strong internet, right? So I'm coming to you, Majige. Recent TMC has shared the state of internet report, highlighting the digital paradox infrastructure expansion existing alongside 52% rate of regressive digital incidents. How is this directly threatening the shared digital commons?
I think, Imani, as we have been discussing here, or as we have started the discussion throughout, the issue of digital common is really challenging, and it's something that few people have this kind of powers and decisions to make. I want us to think a little bit in this room. Bad thing is that I'm from a fisherman community, and most of my examples are coming from my experience with fishing. So I'm trying to imagine that, for instance, we are making these beautiful and wonderful boats, very big, strong, that they can withstand the wind. We are making these big nets that we know they will catch a lot of fish. And then we are taking a number of engines that are strong and that are world-class engines, and we put them in place. And then when young people came and want to go to fishing, we are telling them that your time has not yet to come. And we are telling them that it's not safe to fish in these waters. It's not safe to do this. And when they decide to make their own boats, to mend their own nets, and to do their own things by their own skills, and they want to go out to fish, then we contain them, we take them, we put them behind bars. Or at least we could have taken them to the village farm so that they can farm and contribute to the entire community food, but we are not doing that. That's what the State of Internet Governance reports have been showing. And that is what also the report that has been launched yesterday has shown, that despite the persistent increase in infrastructure development, infrastructure and police development that are being made in country, but there are still some of the issues that really needs interventions. And that's why we are trying to say that this digital common is open. Digital common should be for all. The internet governance, the benefits that are into internet are the ones that are supposed to be enjoyed by all people. And I'm saying this because in our recent policy briefs that we have done at TMC, that we are focusing much on the content creators and on how they earn, we underscored that digital by internet or digital business and digital taxation has contributed enormous in Tanzania's revenue. And this is crucial because at one hand, we are making policies that support these young people or citizens to engage. And at another hand, we are making them hard to learn and to get benefit from these opportunities. I don't think that we are doing justice for ourselves, and even we are doing justice for the digital economy that the country really needs to go. With the Tanzania Digital Economy Strategic Framework, the Tanzania Vision 2060, the Tanzania aspirations, the East Africa vision and the Africa We Want vision, and even Sustainable Development Goals, all these focuses towards making life better. And making life better includes also digitalization, includes people be able to use these digital spaces to enjoy the fundamental freedoms. We are talking here right now, X is banned, is restricted. I'm coming from the country, I travel from the country where you literally, like, you don't need even to switch on your VPN. And now when you come back home, you need to switch on the VPN. So I think that's, I will finish by connecting to what Zibu and Delik have argued, that we really need to have these issues of innovation taken seriously. And they really need to value it by giving them space, providing the community, providing the people with access not only to these digital spaces, but with meaningful and deliberate inclusion that we can make these people enjoy. We can give mentorship. We can create room for young people to innovate, to ideate, and to make things work. Other countries, for instance, I visited Canada. They have dedicated a youth island that is specific for youth innovation and the youth. Any young people can go to that can go to that youth island, and they can sit, they can ideate. They have even government support on how they can do these things. I think that are the things that we can learn, and we can really take them and implement them in the country by the level of commitment that I know the government have now in digitalization. It can also expand to the startup they have promised in their budget speech from the Ministry of ICT, that they are going to expedite for the startup and innovation policy.
Thank you so much, Mr. Fisherman. Back to you, Zibu. Amazing job at Alessa incubation there. But a massive challenge is that algorithm governing the commons are often developed in the global north. How can youth-led initiative push to ensure emerging technologies are subjected to localized ethical framework? Just the day before yesterday, I was chatting to Majigi, like, a funny thing can really go viral, but a thing that really makes sense and intend to bring some different in our community doesn't even get 12 likes, but a funny comedy thing you will see has gone viral with 1 million likes.
Yeah, so there is some growing evidence that ethical frameworks are very important, especially as we go into this rapid phase of introduction of artificial intelligence in many different facets of life. I was reading recently that some tests were done, for instance, on certain artificial intelligence tools that were meant to assist with human resources departments with hiring. So if, for instance, an artificial tool is is doing this work in the field of engineering, for instance, it will usually adopt the biases that already exist in the data that's available, where people in engineering are usually male and usually white. Then from that data, the AI can learn that, okay, so when you are hiring for an engineer, it's best to hire a male person, it's better to hire a white person. So those biases become inbuilt into some of the AI tools that we build. And so because AI tools are predominantly designed in the West, the biases that proliferate in those countries, we inherit them when we start using those tools. Someone once asked us to do an exercise at some event, say a couple of years back. He asked us to go on Google and type a baby boy, and then press enter, and then you see what entries come out in terms of on the picture side of things. So the most of the pictures that appeared were white. Then only down after so many pages will you find a black baby or an Indian baby or and so forth, because the algorithms have learned that a baby is generally white, is generally male. So those kind of biases are built into these algorithms. So which means as we adopt these things here, it's very important that our own governments, our own industries, our own business people start to think seriously about creating some tools that ensure that we are able at least to develop some innovations here. Then there's also the importance of teaching those tools our local languages, so that they understand our own local context. So if you want your AI to give you proper responses about what is happening in Dar es Salaam, it needs to have that data.
Yeah.
So those processes of teaching that AI, we need to participate in that. They need to be active efforts to teach them our localized languages, to ensure they understand that life in the village is different from life in town, and even life in town here is different from life in New York and London.
Thank you so much, Zibu. Noting that we need to reclaim our space as African innovators. To you, Majige, Civic Lens is built on the idea that community knowledge is public resource. How can African countries reclaim the digital commons and ensure that citizen-generated information serves public accountability rather than remaining fragmented, ignored, or captured by powerful actors? I think this is really connecting with what Zibu has just said.
Maybe a bit of disclaimer. Until we are totally independent, it cannot. That's when we can go outside of those big words that you have used, technocrats or capture.
I agree.
I was chatting with someone during lunch, and she said that the discussions have been really insightful, and to some extent, some of the words that we are using are so technical. I'm wondering whether in this panel also some of the discussions that we are making are so technical. I can see people are sleeping. Can you please wake up your neighbor? Maybe if your neighbor is sleeping. You're very much awake. Oh, wow. Thank you. Now I can see that the discussion and conversations are not much
technical.
So to come to your question, Imani, basically, maybe I just don't want to ask you a question, but I want us to reflect, like how many of us have ever maybe posted something, maybe we have a security concern in your neighborhood, you don't have water, you don't have electricity, and you raise that concern, maybe in social media, or you call TANESCO, or you call DAWASA, or you call the people around, we have Ulinzi Shirikishi, or you go to Mjumbe wa Nyumba Kumi and ask why yesterday I was robbed and I'm paying 2,000 or 3,000 for security this month, and it's not secure at my place. So the idea of coming with these innovations or ideas like Civic Lens is on how you can really empower citizens, not only report their problems that they have in their community, but also on how these particular issues can be integrated with entire decision-making process, and the decision makers can really make decision on that, and you have progress on those issues that are happening, or on the questions that were asked. For instance, if you asked there was no water, and then the issue to be captured and to be interrogated with the people who are responsible, and then they give feedback like there was no water because of 1, 2, 3, we have worked on that and water is available. And this is really what in digital commons, or in the issue of digital governance, and in the issue of digitalization agenda that the country now has, there's some of the issues that really need to be interrogated on. For instance, Tanzania last year won 3 ICT awards, and one of them was an award on making a citizen reporting feedback, imlejesho, that brings citizen with the government closer. However, I can testify as a user of the system in a couple of times. In most of the time when I interrogate with this system, it's very rare to get results or response. And even when I come to get response, it's a bit late, and you can't find that meaningful conversation or meaningful engagement with the government. So I think one of the key issues that need to be done in reclaiming this space is having enough investment in this infrastructure, not just only creating infrastructure, but also giving them with manpower, giving them with resources. For instance, we are celebrating the milestone of having a newly independent body like Personal Data Protection Commission. But have we tried to think how resources do they have in terms of technical, in terms of finance, in terms of on how they can make even regulations that will work for the people, on how they can engage to give out education to the people so that the people, they can understand this. So there's some of the critical issues that I think they are into our means that we can make. After making this deliberate innovation and investment into this, we need to have some sorts of having a deliberate inclusion, having a deliberate inclusion of various actors, various innovators, various stakeholders. And I'm saying this because there is a mismatch or gap between the knowledge that is available to people, especially when you look to some of the civil society, you look to some of the government institutions, you look to some of normal citizens on how they can integrate into the system. For instance, in Tanzania, and this will be my last example, Iman, because I don't want to speak a lot.
I was about to say,
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
enough.
Sure. For instance, Tanzania now, we are rolling out to go to something that we call Jamii Number, where we can register even a child after being born, that he will have a unique digital identifier. It's a good initiative, and we have covered it, and have provided even opinion and recommendation in our tech and media convergence policy briefs of last year. Despite this good commitment that has been reflected in the Tanzania Digital Economy Strategic Framework, and also various commitments, but still the country, the government has not yet to enact a law that will operationalize the enjoyment of this Jamii Number. So these are some of issues that requires legal and policy reforms that are constantly working towards providing these opportunities and making sure that these things work. However, Iman, it's very hard taking into account that in the data centers that are available globally, Africa holds 0.6 on that. And it's another question that we really need to discuss on whether we can really be free from that.
Thank you so much. Let us reflect back when Mr. Fisherman Advocate Majige asked us how many of us uses social media. I saw the hand were so many. And then the second question was how many of us have been contacted by Meta or any big tech company, whether they are changing the policies. And then the hands kept reducing. And then on the third question, I only saw two hands if they ever contributed to the policy or laws change. So this is taking me to Advocate Derek again. How do we structurally embed young people voices into registrative process, ensuring digital laws are co-authored by the generation they affect the most? Because most of the time when you talk to these young innovators, the first complaint will be laws and policies, and then followed by taxes and compliances.
Thank you so much. Again, I've started engaging with young people since when I was 17. So I'll speak here not as.
Are you still young now?
Yes, I'm still young. Yesterday I just turned 26. So yesterday
Happy
was my
birthday.
Thanks so much. So I'll speak not out of context, but out of experience. I've been engaging with the government, with the parliament, and office of prime minister for a very long time concerning the youth people agendas. And I will talk this freely because I'm very sure of what I'm speaking about. Young people in our country are not informed. That is number one. Young people are not well informed. They're informed, but I don't think if they are well informed. And if they are well informed, they are less participation in the rooms. I do remember when we were moving the context of to end the early marriage. We were 8 of us moving from the office of prime minister, member of parliament, committees, and then we went to the other stakeholders. We were 8 of us from 2021 to 2022. So in terms of digital structure, young people have to come forward, and the government have to see the potential of young people themselves, because this issue of digital thing is for young people, and young people are the one who drives change, and the changes should be done from the legislative processes. So if we want to have the strong mandate for young people to create something which is very solid, first of all, we need to have a room for these young people to come together with the government and other stakeholders to co-create something tangible for young people themselves. Because this is a very, very practical. How many do we know we have National Youth Police? How many of us do we know we have it? How many do we know we have National Youth Police Act? Sheria ya Baraza la Vijana. Ni wangapi wanajua tuna Baraza la Vijana Tanzania? Alipo. Sheria ipo, baraza halipo. Sheria ni 2015. Tuko mwaka 2026. So we have like 10 years. We have a law, but we don't have actual institution which operates within young people ambit. And yet we want to say young people are included in the decision-making processes. I will tell you,
sorry, Derek. Why is the gap? Who has to inform young people, and who has to connect young people and the decision makers and government actors? Yeah. True.
Okay, thank you so much. I was saying in Tanzania we have National Youth Police and we have National Youth Police Act, but we don't have National Youth Police. I mean, we don't have National Youth Council. So this is a challenge which I've been facing many, many times, because whenever we want young people to present or to represent an agenda, either abroad or internally to push something, it's very difficult for them to get a chance, because you will be asked, where are you coming from? That is a question number one. So last month, I was invited by the Minister of Natural Resources from Ireland to have an engagement with him personally about on how the biodiversity system and the climate tech could be pushed forward from Tanzania perspectives. So when I was there, he asked me, like, where are you coming from, Derek? And I said, I'm coming from the Lex-Based Advisory. We do research, we do implement. I mean, we do advisory, and we do consultations to the climate tech, to the investment, and other things, because that was the angle where I am, and I get information from that perspectives. But there is someone from Kibondo, there is someone from Manyara. He has a lot of information from that area, but where to deliver it so it can go viral to the bodies, to the rooms, and to the stakeholders. That is where the challenge is. And this gap, I think, now is a political ideal for us to failing having these young people institutions for themselves to govern their own things. I think this is just for political things and political ideal, which now have created many hurdles, because uh, from perspectives, last year I was in Brazil. I was attending the conference of parties for UNFCCC, and many countries representative for young people have coming from centralized institutions. But for us, we are not centralized. I'm telling you, we are always, yes, we are coming from sorry, we are coming from different angles. I know Imani, I know Majige, and I know someone. I call them, we have a consultation meeting a week after, we catch a flight, here we go. Then it's done. We need to have something which is very tangible, so the government have to see this in other ways. Like, these young people really need something which they will own, and it will represent them their idea, and it will represent each and everything concerning them, to the government, to the stakeholders, and to themselves as well.
Thank you so much, Derek. What I'm getting there is that it all starts with a political will, right? Over to you, Zibu. Alessa utilizes proximity to power by engaging directly with policymakers. How do you advise young innovators to collaborate with regulators without compromising their mandate to hold the government accountable?
Okay, yeah, so that's a very difficult question. But thank you so much for that question. So I believe there are many different ways to skin a cat. So within the civic space, you find that there's those who do demonstrations or protests. There's those who sit down and talk with the government. There's those who do this and that. I think all approaches are very important, and all approaches have their space. For us as Alessa, we usually take the approach that we build connections within and outside government, because even within the West kind of governments, there are always reformers in there who want to see things get better. So you can do some work by engaging them, getting them to push your agenda in there. Then outside government, there are always people who want to push certain agendas. So it's about analyzing your context, seeing what approach best works for you. But no single person can push forward an agenda as big as the agenda of digital governance or having a digital commons. Many people have a role to play. We need to see the innovators go out there and do what they do best. Within the civic space, we need to see civil society organizations do their part. Then within government, we need to see reformers within there also do their part. So it's good to engage government, but the approaches can differ depending on the context and what people think they can do practically.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. Majiga, I remember your disclaimer. But my question to you now is, can youth-led AI innovation help reclaim the digital commons, and what ethical guidelines are needed to ensure these technologies empower citizens instead of reproducing the same inequalities, misinformations, and power imbalances we are trying to solve?
I think, Iman, you have asked me very difficult questions in this part more than anyone else. I'm trying to think like, I think another example again from fishermen. I think next time when I sit in panel, I'll use another example, maybe from pastoralist community. Maybe from fisherman perspective, I don't think if I would rather trust someone who has built a boat but has never seen a lake or went to fish. Like this person has never seen an ocean or lake, and he has built a boat. And that comes also to the issue on how there's systems or programs are designed. Number one, I think there should be transparency. Young people should know on how there's AI developed and what the data sets that are used to train these large language models. I like much from the previous panel where Nukta Africa is doing to take these African languages into these AI models and to feed them to give this some sorts of African understanding into that. And also another thing is to having accountability and to ensure that humans are always responsible to the decisions that are being made. And also this goes to the issue of privacy, that privacy should be tackled as a key on issues of personal data, as have been discussed yesterday and today. And also to have like human-centered by design. Human-centered by design, this is because without having a human-centered by design and putting human at forefront, we are going into the trap that has been discussed by Professor Soshona in her book on surveillance capitalism, on how our data have been commodified and taken as a market for people with power to take it for their own control. As we always use here, WhatsApp, Instagram, and in terms of those terms and reference, we do accept all. Even myself, I'm a lawyer. I don't need all those things because I want to use WhatsApp. WhatsApp accept all. I don't know where the data are being sold to the third party.
We're out of time. Mambo ni mengi, muda ni mchache. Okay, my last question to Advocate Derrick. When young people create civic innovations, protecting intellectual property while maintaining an open commons is quite complex. So in 1 minute, please tell us what legal structures are missing that would allow young innovators to scale securely.
Thanks so much. There are almost three things which I wanted to talk about this. And number one is what we call the reciprocal hybrid, the reciprocal digital hybrid for the young people, because these young people always create something or innovate something and then give it to the community, use it for free without getting anything back. Because when a young people generate something to use, let's say an app for children who have impaired visions problem, to use it for studies, then some huge company came and then took the idea, modified it, and then come to implement the same without acknowledging all that young people to benefit from what he innovated. That is where now the phases of losing profits from what he created, it's coming. Then the second one is the issue of IP harbors, which now it's coming in, the issue of intellectual property. And now it's coming in because these young people have created something which they own, and it's their property, and then have to be well protected. So we need to have strong laws which protect those innovations from young people. Number three, the government should create what we call what we call the civic vehicle for digital mechanism, something like that, that this one will be operated by the government and will be moderated by the government. So whenever young people create something, register it for COSOTA, then COSOTA will know someone in Jombe created this one for agricultural activities. So when in the next 2 or 1 year, let's say we say Majige's companies came and create the same thing but modify it because Majige has money, Majige should be commanded to give some percentage to that young one from Jombe who created it. That will create, will influence innovation, but will create sustainability for those young people who are innovators on the ground.
Thank you so much, Derrick. I wish we could have more time to discuss about this, because when you talk to young people, they will always tell you, you know what, if I have innovated something, even the one that I think that person is gonna be the help to me wants the credit from what I have just innovated, you know. they want to be in front of that innovation. So I really wish we could have more time to get more views on that, but it's really a complex issue. And the facilitator is here. I wish I could take 1 or 2 questions, 1 question from the audience. It has been a strict one. Daktari, welcome.
I'm going to have some fun with this, but when he said the point about searching for baby boy, the first thing I did was I went onto my browser and I searched for baby boy on my Apple browser, which of course goes to Google, and I got several pictures. Actually, 3 of them were white, 2 were Africans, and 1 was Indian. But do you know what the top search result was? You're going to have fun with this. It was a 2001 movie called Baby Boy, starring Tyrese Gibson and Snoop Dogg, 2 African-American actors about coming of age in Los Angeles as a bicycle repairman. So I guess my point here is that you know, searching is very sensitive. I don't know if you would get different results because your browser and your record is different. I don't know if they put the African kids in there because I'm in Africa, you know. It's very, it's how are they trained, and it's very sensitive to context. So I just thought I'd make the point.
Thank you so much. Panelists are around. Please talk to them after this session because the facilitator is here and I don't want to make her mad anymore. Thank you so much for listening, and yeah, thank you for engaging spiritually.
Thank you very much. A hand of applause to our moderator, Hongera Sana. May you please stand right in the middle of a stage for the stage for a group photo. Tafadhali, tuwapigie makofi kwa mara nyingine tena. Mbona makofi ya kichoyo hivyo? Aha. Kuanzia mvuvi